Hello, I am Tro, and the year is 2018. With so many groundbreaking forms of entertainment, technology, and gaming, finding the time to test it all is the hardest part, especially if you're a student, employed full-time, have a family, or if you're a dedicated old-school RuneScape athlete, such as myself. Yes, it's almost 2019. And yes, I still play that game RuneScape that we all remember from 10 years ago when we were in middle school or elementary school or maybe high school, but you know, like 10 years ago. Or like even 20 years ago if you're a real OG. Granted, it's not the exact same game that we played 10 years ago. There's a new dev team on it and they're constantly putting out fresh content, but they still maintain that old school feel. In 2013, Jagex re-released a 2007 model of RuneScape. Built with nostalgic graphics, 23 trainable skills. I should count that. I should make sure that's actually the number. I've only played this game for 14 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 23. Since then, the dev team for Old School has continued to add new PVM content, player vs monsters, with increasing complexity and harder boss mechanics. They've also added a variety of new ways to train skills. So now, if you want to stinking cut wood, well, there's new trees that you can click on to cut wood. And you can run through swamps and cut down mushrooms and collect fossils while still leveling up that wood cutting level. There's new areas you can explore, like Zaya, where you can find giant flaming monsters and old ancient castles that you, along with the mages of Wintertot, must tackle and destroy by cutting down roots and putting them in a brazier and lighting them on fire. And that's what will kill the monster. Oh. And they've also added a shit ton of helpful items and equipment that help you get around the map faster and overall just increase the rate of play. So there's less time running, less time waiting, and more time actually doing fun stuff in the game. Just a few weeks ago, Jagex released the Old School RuneScape client to the Android and iPhone App Store, making RuneScape accounts fully playable on mobile devices. With the app populating the top-rated charts for free mobile games, Old School has seen both tons of new players trying the game for their first time and lots of returning players who probably just forgot the game ever existed. Due to the open world do-as-you-please nature of RuneScape, lots of players end up feeling directionless and fall into the same trap as our bro we had to throw off the balcony. They spawn in Lumbridge, and due to having no game perspective or even knowing what is out there for them to work towards, they end up just killing a few chickens, fishing some shrimp, maybe lighting a fire, cutting a tree, and then they log off because they're like, that was fucking boring! I mean, that would be freaking really boring if that's all you did. You freaking goblin boy, get out of Lumbridge. Perspective-wise, if you have a normal-sized pie, and you chop that pie into 100 pieces, look, no one's gonna want one of those pieces. That's so freaking tiny. Lumbridge would not even be a full freaking piece, man. Really being a true scape enthusiast myself, especially within this last year, I want to help new players and returning players get past that initial feeling of, WTF am I supposed to do, bruh? And once they get past that feeling of WTF, you can start working towards bigger goals that make the game feel super rewarding. And you gotta get there ASAP. XP is wasting, boys, so let's just get right into it. When starting an account, choosing a playstyle is super important. This allows you to set your goals that will directly unlock the content that you will enjoy the most. The most popular playstyles are as follows. You have the PVM player, the PvP player, the completionist, and the freaking athlete, aka skiller. aka Jock, aka Zen Masters, aka Beasts, aka Lynx Titan. We have the PVMer, the PvPer, the Completionist, and the Skiller. These are your basic playstyles. These four. All four of these have a huge amount of content underneath of them and a giant amount of goals that you can reach for and try to achieve when playing the game. So to start out, let's talk about PVM. PVM is the playstyle with the most widespread appeal. It offers highly engaging content with complex boss mechanics, sick loot rewards, and a pretty high skill ceiling that will constantly give you room to improve as a player. In order to unlock the highly engaging PVM content, first, you need to get the levels and gear you need to participate. RuneScape is a game that still values the grind, and that's something I like about it. Are you all ready, boys? Yes, sir! It gives you a sense of accomplishment and separates the dedicated from the dabblers. But you're gonna need patience and to put in some work. So if you're somebody who wants to move your account in the direction of PVM, here's some stuff to get you started. First, focus on knocking out your combat stats. Base 70 is a good starting point. This combat stats are range, mage, prayer, hit points, strength, attack, and defense. Make some money in order to buy powerful gear and do a few quests like Recipe for Disaster, Desert Treasure, the Fremnik Trials, Monkey Madness, and grab yourself a Dragon Defender. This is some solid staple gear to get you started that's cheap and is really going to greatly improve your effectiveness. If you have any questions about how to complete these quests or unlock an item, go to the old school wiki because it literally has all the information you need to know. Type in an item, type in a quest, and it will tell you all the details needed to complete or achieve what you need. If you're not just a hacker slasher combat kind of guy and you want to have more varied gameplay with more variety, then the completionist mentality might be the playstyle for you. A completionist is somebody that goes through and completes all the content in the game. But RuneScape has so many different types of content you can interact with. Whether you're utilizing your skills to complete quests for NPCs that reward you with new zones to explore and different item unlocks, or if you're taking it to the next level to complete your achievement diaries, which unlock super convenient quality of life perks. Or maybe you're a guy who loves collecting ultra rares that only a small percentage of the player base will ever acquire. Certain things in the game, when interacted with, have an extremely small chance of giving you a pet version of itself. Whether it's the rock golem when you're mining or a boss pet that gives you a miniature version of the boss that you just killed. These are super rare drops and you really have to put in your work to get them. Or you can be the true completionist who tries to unlock everything. Good luck to you on that one. RuneScape really has so much content that it can keep you busy for a super long time. So if you're a new account and you like the idea of kind of going in that varied gaming experience of being a completionist, then I recommend starting with the Quest Cape. It requires a pretty solid foundation on your account in order to complete all the quests. And then once you do that, you can move on to the Diary Cape, which is going to require a little bit more stats out of you, but give you even more rewards. And then once you're done with that, then you can look at the Max Cape, which requires max stats in every single skill. And once you're done with those three capes, if you still haven't had enough, then it's time to go pet hunting. Go see what you can collect, what you can find, or find your own pieces of content that you want to pursue in game, because there's so many that I didn't even mention. Completionist gameplay is very based on a sense of accomplishment and account progression. And if you're not someone who really cares about the feeling of progressing your account and is more just looking for a gameplay based experience, then do not fear, for RuneScape has something for you as well. PvP in Old School is arguably the highest skill cap content in the game. It requires great click accuracy, the ability to play offensively and defensively, and a good gauge for risk versus reward. Unlike most MMOs, RuneScape does not have a class system. Instead, you just have a stat template where you can choose to improve whatever stats you'd like. Let's quickly understand the stat template. When leveling up combat stats, they all add together in order to give you a combat level. Combat level is a rough representation of your account's potential in combat. So somebody with level 40 combat level is going to be a lot less powerful than somebody with a level 80 combat level. Granted, these two people won't be allowed to attack each other in most PvP areas. So you can kind of consider it bracketed. Low levels fight the low levels, high levels fight the high levels. So basically a PvP account is an account that is optimized, or in other words, made as powerful as possible for its current combat bracket. What this does is it maximizes your chance to take out your opponent. The lower your combat bracket, meaning the lower your combat level, the lower your stats are going to be. And the lower your stats are going to be, the less items and spells you'll have access to. So, as you go from the low combat brackets to the high combat brackets, the level of complexity and difficulty continues to increase. A good example of a low combat bracket account is an Obby Mauler. A true Obby Mauler is one of the lowest combat bracket builds, and it's extremely simple. All they level is strength and hit points. You use a fast melee weapon for damaging down your opponent, and then once they get to low health, you switch to a big maul and try and smack them for massive KO potential. Now on the other end of the spectrum, when you're looking at the high end of the combat brackets, you start finding account builds like Tribrids. And Tribrids are probably the hardest account build to play in the game, because you're using all three attack styles, and you're also playing defensively against all three attack styles. So you melee, you range, and you mage. Because you're in the high combat bracket, you can afford to have every combat stat trained up, even prayer. Prayer is essentially a buff system where you activate your different prayer abilities to either increase your offensive potential or your defensive potential. When you're tribriding, if you want to survive or outlast your opponent, you need to try and land all your defensive prayers perfectly timed to defend against their offensive attacks. So if your opponent uses a melee attack, then you should be using Protect from Melee in the prayer book. Juggling between switching your offensive attack style and switching between your defensive attack style is extremely challenging, and you'll find yourself clicking a ton. These tribriding builds are not a great place to start, but they're a great place to kind of aspire to reach. Because if you're a good tribrider, you're an amazing player, but you have to learn and take the time to get there. So when starting out, it's best to just do a simple low-level build that's really easy to get started. And I'm gonna put a link in the description to a video by Framed, where he talks about how to build a great low-level PKing account in basically a day. Good luck in the fights, my friend. The last playstyle in this whole gosh darn mix-up. And this last one is kind of hard to explain. I think it's unique to RuneScape. Before I mention the playstyle, I guess I'm gonna set up the context for it. RuneScape has 23 skills, and they're all leveled up with experience. So XP is acquired by completing actions that directly correlate with a skill. For example, cutting a tree would reward woodcutting experience, and forging cannonballs would reward smithing XP. Not all skills are equal in the amount of experience you can gain in them. Some skills are really slow and you can't train faster than 70k per hour, while others are super fast and you can get 500,000 experience per hour. But the XP cap for each skill is 200 million. So yes, hypothetically, you can gain 200 million experience in a skill. Now imagine that at 70,000 experience per hour. That would probably take you upwards of 3,000 hours of gameplay. Let that sink in. Oh my gosh. But let's be real, a lot of people don't even get to the max level. Max level in a skill is achieved at 13 million experience. So from 13 million to 200 million, you gain no levels, just XP. So your first 13 million experience unlocks tons of content, a skill cape, nice unlocks, and then the last 187 million XP Well, it gives you nothing. So clearly, the 200 million experience thing is irrelevant. Well, or so you might think. A niche, grind-hardened group of scapers, known as skillers, see these daunting 200 mils as a challenge. And some actually conquer it with multiple skills. But others, and most, burn out before ever reaching their goal. They don't hit the finish line. This is not something easy to do. The primary obstacle on this journey is oneself, for the goal is only attainable by remaining focused and consistent for months at a time. Why would anybody do this? Well, a skiller's motivation varies from player to player, and whether it's because they're just trying to claim top spots on the high scores, or they want to be part of the high-level community, maybe they just enjoy the act of training the skill. I think some people do it as a way to challenge themselves and their own determination and willpower, but really, you never know. Everyone finds their own motivation on these journeys. Because everyone so does their own thing and is inspired to skill for their own reasons, it's really hard to explain an objective thrill of chasing down long-term XP goals, because realistically, it's a highly subjective experience. I may feel totally different about it than you. So I feel like the best way to get a feel for skilling is to just test it out yourself. You don't have to go right into a 200 mil. Just find a skilling method you enjoy and set a simple level goal. And if you want to do it like a true skiller, complete that goal as quickly as possible. Challenge yourself, challenge your discipline, see how focused you can be on just this one game or that one goal inside of the game even. And that's where you're really gonna feel the sense of skiller accomplishment, that sense of setting a goal and just really getting ambitious, chasing it down, and completing it. It's an amazing feeling, and I feel like, for me, there's been some introspective benefit in it. It's been a great, raw way to test how disciplined I am and how committed I can be to a goal. So maybe you'll like it too. Give it a shot. I've been loving it. I tried mining, I tried fishing, I tried rune crafting. These are all really engaging skilling methods that I think are really fun, so it's a fun skill that you can challenge yourself with. But yeah, try them all out. There's 23. Set some goals, chase them down. Maybe you'll like it. Who knows? So that is the 4 playstyles that I'm going to be mentioning today. And I would just like to say, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. That's unbelievable. I love it. I hope there was some interesting stuff that you may have learned about, or you maybe just enjoyed the music, whatever it may have been. I thank you for coming this far. I wish I could have touched on the subjects a little bit deeper than I did, but this video is already 20 minutes long. I'm not making this thing any longer. Okay? If you enjoyed it, maybe throw me a like or a sub or a comment. It all helps me get into the suggested video feed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to bring you new content in the future, and also pick a playstyle, try them all out, do whatever you want. I hope you enjoyed.